It's what dreams are made of. Every year, 257 players will hear their names called in the NFL draft. How well will Hampton Roads and the Commonwealth as a whole be represented this year? Settle in and stick around. We've got you covered as draft day approaches. All right, welcome in. I'm Craig Loper along with James Catato. This year's NFL draft taking place in Green Bay, Wisconsin, where thousands of fans will be on hand to see the next crop of young talent going into the NFL.
Yeah, Craig, when Commissioner Roger Goodell steps up to the podium to announce that the Tennessee Titans are on the clock, football fans everywhere will be waiting to hear who's going to have the honor of being that number one pick.
Yeah, now listen to this. The number one pick has come from Hampton Roads twice. 1986, you remember this one? The Buffalo Bills selected Norfolk's Bruce Smith, number one. That turned out okay.
Of course.
And in 2001, the Atlanta Falcons took Michael Vick with the top pick.
So the number one pick not coming from Hampton Roads this year, but the 757 is projected to have a first-round selection.
That would be edge rusher Mike Green. You see his highlights, 6'4", 250-pounder, led Lafayette High School to a state championship back in the spring of 2021. Now, he began his career at UVA and then transferred to Marshall, where he blossomed into one of the nation's best, the Sun Belt Player of the Year. Green was a second-team All-American selection and led all of FBS with 17 sacks in the country, and he had 23 tackles for loss. Now, we recently talked with Green's head coach at Lafayette, Andy Lynn. Here is that conversation.
He was just owning games for us defensively. People couldn't block him. They couldn't cover him. We had other guys that played receiver, but you put him out one side, another good receiver out the other side, and your small corner is going to go over there and cover that. I don't think that's going to happen. But Mike was the star of the team, and he carried the team. And then, ultimately, everybody knows the ultimate stories. There's the last play where he basically wins the game on, just sheer will of shaking people off and taking the ball 38 yards for a touchdown.
Yeah, is that just symbolic of like his talent, his level? I was going to bring up that play. Like you're playing Botetourt. I remember I was there. It was kind of like a tight game back and forth, and then it was down to the wire, and all of a sudden he's back. You put him in the punt, the bad snap or something happened, and all of a sudden, like, was that play just symbolic of how talented he is? Because it was like, it's a team sport, but that was like an individual play.
I think I made the statement after that game that it was in all the years I've been at Lafayette, and again, I've been there since '97, it was easily in that moment of a game the best individual play I've ever seen at Lafayette High School. I think the best thing that happened to him with the move to Marshall and why it became such a big explosion was he got a much bigger opportunity to play. He didn't get the opportunity to play as much at UVA for whatever reasons, right? But when he got the chance to play and be that every play guy out there, the outside linebacker, defensive end, whatever you want to call it, he just lit it up.
The mocks got him anywhere mid to late first round. In terms of his biggest attribute as a pass rusher, what do you think it is? Is it his get off? Is it his hands? Is it his strength? What do you think it is?
Well, I think it's kind of a combination of all, and it's his athleticism, like you kind of mentioned earlier. What was funny was, everybody was just touting him as this speed rush guy, getting around the edge, oh, he doesn't do this, he doesn't do this. But if you watch his tapes at Marshall, and I've watched a ton of them, he developed quite a repertoire of moves. But then everybody started to say, all the scouts started to say, well, can he hold the edge? Is he going to be physical enough to hold the edge? And then he lit up the Conyers kid on the one bull rush at the Senior Bowl, and he and I's text back and forth was, can't hold the edge, huh? Not physical, huh? So, he has checked every box that they've asked him to check. And it's just because of his pure athleticism that he can do a lot of the things he can do.
How cool would that be to have a first round pick, under that you worked with? That's a big deal.
I don't make these kids. Nobody makes it. God gives these gifts to these kids, and then they just explode. It's my job to guide them when they're in high school, hopefully put them in the best situation I can possibly put them in, and then it's their road to hoe.
All right, here's Mike Green's numbers from this past season at Marshall. They are impressive. 81 tackles, 22 for loss, 17 sacks. Again, most in the nation. He had 3 forced fumbles. Mike Green projected to be anywhere from a mid to late first-round pick. And Andy Lynn gave me some insider information. I'm going to say one team in the NFC West specifically flew out to Williamsburg and sat with Coach Lynn for about 2 hours talking Mike Green and then just talking football in general. And they have a very high interest in Mr. Green, to say the least. One team in the NFC West. I'm not going to say who.
If that's a source, if that ain't a source, I don't know what it is.
I'm just telling you. I don't want to, doing too much.
I got to say, I was at Old Dominion versus Marshall, the senior game, this past season when Marshall came here. Mike didn't play. He had an injury, but his brother EJ did. And then I was talking to his mother, who I just bumped into in one of the media rooms. And she was talking about, she was wearing a double T-shirt with both her kids on it. She was so proud, and obviously EJ was great at ODU. Mike has an opportunity to be, great in the NFL too.
We'll wait to hear his name called. He'll be a high pick for sure. On to the next player from the area that is expected to be drafted, and for that, we go to the FCS ranks, James.
Yeah, we're talking about William and Mary left tackle Charles Grant. Look at that power. The former standout at Churchland High School in Portsmouth is projected to be picked in the 2nd round and is trying to become William and Mary's highest draft pick in 35 years. Grant was a first-team FCS All-American in 2023 and 24. He's projected to be the first FCS player selected in the draft. What a great story this is, right? Grant was not a highly coveted recruit. In fact, he had no stars from 247 Sports, but William and Mary took a chance on Grant, who has grown to 6'5", Craig, and 310 pounds. He excels at one of football's most coveted positions at left tackle. He earned a starting role as a freshman at William and Mary, and in a rarity, played all 4 years here at one school. The Tribe's team captain, Grant, projected as a late first-rounder, early second-round selection. Baltimore Ravens have publicly shown interest in him.
It is a great story, right? I mean, 4 years at William and Mary, could be the highest draft pick in almost 4 decades. The no stars thing is incredible.
Phenomenal.
Right? I mean, it doesn't happen. I should say it doesn't happen often, right? To go from unheralded, from Portsmouth. And I think with him, the key with him is he's been on a steady trajectory of improvement year to year to year as a raw prospect, and then you become more refined. I think that's what NFL scouts and personnel types like to see.
And I talked to him before this season started with William and Mary, and he told me that one of his first goals was to get another FCS All-American nod and prove that he's one of the best tackles in the country. He might be one of the first tackles off the board this year.
Yeah, and you know what, too? It's a deep tackle draft, too.
Yeah, it is.
So that goes to show you, obviously, the SEC, the Big 12, and the Big 10 guys are going to go off the board first, but you got to think, if he gets to a team with the right situation and he gets his opportunity to play, maybe he starts as a swing tackle. Sometimes that's how they break those guys into rotational piece. But once you get him there and work him in there, hopefully he can just keep getting better like he has throughout his college career.
Totally.
All right, let's move on. The top Virginia Tech Hokie on the draft board is Antwaun Powell Ryland Jr., 23 years old. He's an edge rusher from Portsmouth, and he has had a star-studded college career.
So he had an interesting high school career as well. He started at Norcom here in Portsmouth and then Indian River, where he became a 4-star recruit. Went to Florida for 3 years, then transferred to Tech for his last 2.
Right.
He saw playing time with the Gators, but the 6'3", 250-pound Powell Ryland really stepped up his game in Blacksburg. During his senior season, he had 16 sacks. 4 of those were against Old Dominion in this game. That senior season was a special one. All-ACC first team, an AP All-American third team, and the Dudley Award for the best college player in Virginia. I sat down with Twan to talk about how this draft process has been for him.
Given, where you were at Norcom, then to Indian River, I mean, could you have ever imagined you right here at this point?
That was always the plan, man, honestly. Growing up, my mom always told me, don't be afraid to, go get what you want for the most part, And, growing up, I wanted, to be like this. I wanted to be in this position. I told myself I would be in this position, and I worked for it.
Take me through just what the past handful of months have been like. I mean, second in the nation in sacks, like you had your best season at Virginia Tech. I mean, what has this entire year just been like? Has it been like a blur for you?
Not really a blur, but it's definitely something like, that you look back and be like, man, like, I did something, So I did play a good hand in, some of the things that we did, the good things that we did at Virginia Tech. But, it was more so, it was a team effort for the most part. But, definitely on my aspect, I think I did very well, for myself.
Who have you leaned on the most for advice throughout this draft process?
I talked to Bruce Smith a lot. You know, he's just giving me a little game and, you know, really just, you know, letting me know how, you know, just, you know, it's going to be what it's going to be. You already put the work in, you know, just more so playing the waiting game to see, you know, and once it's time to get on the team, you know, just be ready to work.
Go Hokies.
Does that register with you at all? I mean, you just said that so casually that you go to Bruce Smith for advice.
Yeah, I mean, I've been talking to him for a little minute, so now it's definitely I'm a little comfortable saying it freely, but it was definitely something I was like, man, like, just like, it's crazy, you know, because Bruce is arguably the best, so it's like getting advice from somebody like that, you know, to say that he sees something in me enough to give me advice, that means a lot.
Have you pictured what it's going to be like hearing your name get called on draft night?
You know, I mean, I think about it, but you know, it's not going to really feel the same unless, you know, it really happens. So it's like, you know, you can dream about it all you want, but like that moment is something that it happened once in a lifetime. So, you know, I definitely don't know how I'll react, but you know, I'll definitely be grateful, blessed wherever it is that I'll go. You know, I'm not only doing it for, you know, me, myself, and my family. You know, I'm also doing it from where I come from. So it's definitely a big thing.
All right, here's Powell Ryland's stats from his senior season with the Hokies, and they are just, you know, you're looking at what teams want for a modern-day edge rusher, Craig.
29 solo tackles, 19 tackles for loss, the most by a Virginia Tech Hokie in 22 years. Now, his 16 sacks were third in all of FBS, and he was the first Hokie to register double-digit sacks in 19 years. James, you shot that interview with him. Seems humble, talking to Bruce Smith, just like casually threw that in there.
My mentor.
And he seems like just a great kid, and he's going to get an opportunity at the next level.
You know, we saw him in person at the ODU Virginia Tech game this past season, and I mean, he was just a terror coming off that.
4 sacks is crazy in the game.
And we were just talking about it while this was playing. It is pretty remarkable that the top 2 guys that are edge rushers in this draft, or I guess sack leaders this season, were 7'5" guys. Right.
So, yeah, it's crazy. The lineup for the stars to align for that to happen, and they're both sort of play the same position. I guess, you know, Powell's a little more inside from time to time, but they'll flip him out. So getting after the quarterback is those guys get paid at the next level for a reason. So maybe in 4 or 5 years, those guys will be the highest paid in the league. Who knows? I'm not sure. All right, Green and Powell Ryland are expected to be drafted, but we have several other guys from the area that are in the draft conversation as well, but not guaranteed anything. That's next. Stick around. All right, welcome back. You know, everybody's journey to the NFL is unique, right? And that's just one word to describe UVA tight end Tyler Neville from Williamsburg.
So a standout under Andy Lynn at Lafayette High School and teammate of Mike Green, who we just talked about. Neville started his college career at Harvard before transferring to Charlottesville. Now, Tyler has an inspiring story to get here. Diagnosed with stage 2 Hodgkin's lymphoma in 9th grade, not even playing high school football till his junior year of high school, to now an FCS All-American and first-team All-Ivy League at Harvard, then graduating from Harvard, that's a flex, going to UVA and becoming the first Cavalier tight end with 2 touchdown catches in a game in 17 years.
Whether you're drafted or you're a UDFA, have you thought about what that phone call is going to mean to you and your family?
Yeah, I'll probably cry like a baby, to be honest. I mean, yeah, I'll probably be some tears shed. I mean, my family's been so huge. The whole 757, the whole, you know, community in Williamsburg was so huge for me when I was, you know, sick, going through treatments and going through all these different medical hurdles and it's not a relief to sign that contract because there's still more work to be done, obviously, or get drafted. There's still a lot more work to be done. But it's just like a recognition of the hurdles I've overcome and the hurdles this community's overcome for me. And, you know, the support that I've had from my family, from my friends, from, you know, especially my parents. You know, my mother was at every single chemo visit with me. So I imagine, yeah, there'll be a lot of tears shed and a lot of, you know, thank yous from me to all those different people who helped me get there.
What would that 2016 Tyler Neville say to this one right now?
Like, why the hell aren't you playing basketball?
Really? That would be it?
It's like, you didn't get drafted in the NBA? God, he'd be pissed. No, I mean, he would be over the moon excited. He would be over the moon excited that we end up playing, you know, D1 sport in college, and then over the moon excited that, you know, I was under recruited. I was doubted going into college. I made all this wrong. I was, you know, all Ivy, all New England, all American, and then I went to UVA and, all conference with a couple sources. So it was, I think I've surpassed every expectation that freshman year Tyler had for himself. So, he'd be proud whether I play 1 year in the league or 20.
All right, so Tyler, projected 6th or 7th round pick. Again, might have to settle for an undrafted free agent slot, but what a story, Craig.
Hodgkin's lymphoma, didn't play till his junior year.
Yeah.
Harvard to UVA.
Harvard.
UVA's no slouch academically
No.
as well, but Harvard kind of takes the cake with that. And also seems like a great guy.
Yeah,
so
really cool dude in my conversation with him.
Yeah, well, Andy Lynn just putting out the prospects
putting out
at
dudes.
Lafayette.
Yeah.
So no, hopefully Tyler hears his name called, and if he doesn't, he'll definitely be a UDFA guy and get an opportunity.
He said he had in-person visits with the Commanders and the Ravens. He said that he's very confident that if he doesn't go in the draft, he's going to get on an NFL roster in about 2 weeks.
Yeah, we'll look forward to see where he ends up. All right, former Old Dominion Monarch who's hoping to be selected in Green Bay at the draft is Lamaron James from Chesapeake.
Chesapeake native, like we just said, standout player at Indian River High School, was an impact player at Old Dominion before moving on to play his senior season at TCU in the Big 12.
Yeah, the 5'10" cornerback was also a return specialist when he played for Old Dominion, and he had some dynamic ones like this one against Tulsa in the Myrtle Beach Bowl. Now at TCU, he was brought in to be strictly a defensive back, and in his senior season with the Horned Frogs of the Big 12, he tallied 34 tackles, defended 12 passes, and had 1 interception. I sat down with James in Norfolk to talk about the process ahead of the draft. What was the process of like, oh wow, my dream is almost here, right? You leave TCU, and now it's time to get ready for this next stage.
Really, it's just a dream come true, a kid playing football growing up in Norfolk and just playing football period, this the step that they want to go to. Like, I can't even really explain it, just everything just going on so much right now. So I'm just living in the moment right now.
What have you heard either through your agent or through scouts about how you are projected at the next level?
Right now I'm projected day 3, 4 through 7. It's really like high school all over again. You getting recruited. So, I'm just taking my time with it and just doing what I got to do to show the coaches I'm a good player on the field and off the field.
When you get drafted, you don't really have a choice of where you're going, obviously, and you'll take what they give you. But like, is there an ideal fit? Like, what does the right fit look like for you when it comes to the organization?
CB, I feel like I'm a different type of cornerback prospect. I bring a lot of physicality, a lot of talent to whether it's defense, special teams. I play gunner, I play kick return, so I'm versatile, so I can play nickel, and so I can do it all. So I'm really just trying to go to a team that I can help and be a good teammate to.
Is there anybody in the league currently at your spot that you kind of respect their game and you try to, really take some things away from it?
Really, I've been watching the cornerback from the Commanders, number 0. Yeah, Center still, he a good player, we kind of the same body type. I'm probably a little taller, but, he shorter corner, he just bring it every play. So, I like watching him.
In terms of your family, like this whole process, man, how much have you leaned on them throughout this whole process just for support?
Well, I got a lot of support. I got my mom, my dad, my mentor, Coach Poncho, Coach Brandon, Coach Dane, my aunts, uncles, they just lift me up every day. They tell me just let God work it out. So that's what I just I've been praying every night and just let him handle it.
What would it mean to hear your name called?
Man, I'm gonna cry. I ain't even gonna lie, I'm gonna cry. It's gonna mean a lot to me because I put in the work from day one. Just being in here. I remember when I first started here in 9th grade. I lifting weights. I was just struggling, but I got it. I just built it on from there on and just kept going. And now I'm here now, so I just can't wait till that day comes.
This draft class got some potential from the 757. What do you think of your group of guys, your class?
No, I feel like we one of the best to come out. I'm not gonna say the best, no disrespect to the older generation, but I feel like we one of the best for sure. So it's really a dream come true.
So when I sat down with Lamaron, he transferred from Old Dominion. I asked him why in a different part of the conversation. He said he just wanted the challenge of the Big 12 to face, more elite receivers week to week. And I would say, he showed up in a big way. I think he was second in the conference in passes defended with 12 last year. He had the 1 interception with TCU, stepped up in a major way. I think his role is nickel. He's a nickel cornerback. Yeah. Like you said, Sandra's still there, who was incredible for the Commanders in his rookie year, but they do have that same sort of body mold. Yeah. And then his return game, you know, I don't know if he's necessarily a returner at the next level, but you could put him on special teams because you've seen him do it in the past.
Yeah.
So,
well, and all things considered, at one point he did lead the Big 12 in pass breakups.
Right,
which,
right,
I mean,
right.
is wildly impressive, by the way, when another defensive back in your conference won the Heisman. Travis Hunter.
Yeah, right. That is
I mean,
crazy.
that's wild. So credit to him for making the move and making the most of it.
Yeah, Norfolk guy, went to high school at Indian River at Chesapeake, so definitely making two cities in the 757 proud when it comes to Lamaron James. So hopefully gets his name called, and he sent me he's having a draft party in Norfolk,
Nice.
so he's got some family and friends that are going to be around for that. Surprisingly enough, Lamaron James is the cousin of someone named Keandre Lambert-Smith, also from Norfolk.
So he began his college career at Penn State and finished up with the Auburn Tigers. Pro Football Focus has Lambert-Smith as the 25th ranked receiver in the draft. It's a loaded draft at receiver too. And after a very productive career at Penn State, transferred to Auburn, led the Tigers with 50 catches, 981 yards, and 8 touchdowns. He was 19 yards shy of becoming Auburn's first 1,000-yard receiver in 25 years. Ran a 4.37 in the 40-yard dash at the NFL Combine. Projected to be a day 3 late round selection. And when you look at somebody like this, I remember talking to Doree McCain about this at Maury when I did a story on Isaiah Bond with this past year's team, and he said Keandre was like the originator for him in terms of game-shattering players that he saw and was like, all right, this dude is going to revolutionize our program and take it to the next level.
Well, and he did, and he's an anchor of the Maury High School football program in recent years. In 2019, when they went undefeated and won that state championship, he was the guy. So Doree has obviously an incredible amount of gratitude and respect for Keandre Lambert-Smith. Goes from the Big Ten to the SEC, lead your team in it's a huge jump, and then also lead your team in yards with 8 touchdowns. You get invited to the NFL Combine and run a 4.37. So I think, you know, he's done his part. He showed that he's capable. It's just a matter sometimes when you get to these fringe guys of what the team is looking for and the right fit and how the draft falls, right? Because, you know, a team that might need a sort of special fourth sort of receiver they can throw in there, but also put on special teams with speed, he might be a perfect fit. But then some teams don't necessarily have that need as well.
Well, the other thing too is this is a loaded receiver class, right? I mean, obviously Hunter is a guy, right? But then Ted McMillan out of Arizona is going to be a guy.
Right. Kid from Bolton from Mizzou.
Yes.
So,
yeah, totally.
All right, let's get going here and take a look at the first 10 picks in the 2025 draft. You got the Tennessee Titans up top at 1, Cleveland Browns at 2, New York Giants 3, New England Patriots at 4, and Jacksonville at the 5th spot.
The Vegas Raiders picking at 6, New York Jets picking at 7, Carolina Panthers at 8, New Orleans Saints at 9, and the Chicago Bears at 10.
When you talk about this draft, Tennessee going to go with Cam Ward, obviously, number 1. That's kind of clear and concise. After that, it's going to get different. This is not like a clear-cut draft, but when you talk about the top names, Abdul Carter, Travis Hunter, Shedeur Sanders, Will Campbell, these sort of guys, there's no guarantee how it's going to fall, especially even with that Cleveland pick.
Of course.
Like, they could go 2 directions.
So the other thing, too, that's interesting is, like, once you get into that 2nd, 3rd overall pick, do you just pick the best available player?
Or the need,
right? And then you get down the line a little bit in that back half of the top 10. What do you do if you're a team like Vegas, who just got a quarterback in Geno Smith, but they were tied to Shedeur Sanders for a long time? Right?
And they're talking about Shedeur slipping to 9 now to the New Orleans Saints. Derek Carr has an injury. Who knows? When you look elsewhere there, the Panthers need an edge rusher. Jaguars need a corner. They probably go with Will Howard from Michigan.
And it really wouldn't surprise me. There are some mocks that have Mike Green going in that 11, 10, 9 range. So there's a chance that he could go in there too.
Yeah. We'll be on the look as the top 10 unfolds. Now, before we sign off, how about some first-round picks from Hampton Roads over the years? 1981, Hall of Famers, same draft, Lawrence Taylor and Kenny Easley went number 2 and number 4 overall, respectively. LT, of course, a Lafayette High School legend, went to Carolina and then the New York Giants to become a revolutionizer of the pass rush position. Kenny Easley, Oscar Smith star, went to UCLA and then the Seattle Seahawks.
And then in 1986, Bruce Smith out of Booker T. Washington in Norfolk, and then Virginia Tech. The sack man picked number 1 overall by the Buffalo Bills. Smith, of course, went on to become the all-time leader in sacks and a trip to Canton, Ohio.
200 career sacks. Always thought that was cool. Right at that perfect round number Bruce ended his career with. Just unbelievable. Some other huge names we've heard out of Hampton Roads in the NFL draft. Plaxico Burress out of Green Run High School in Virginia Beach. Obviously went to Michigan State. Picked 8th overall by the Steelers in 2000. The year following, 2001, Michael Vick from Newport News and Virginia Tech was the first pick of the Falcons and just became sort of a staple of Atlanta community, cultural, influence he had. Unbelievable. Vic had a career early on.
Call him Coach Vic now.
Yeah. Coach Vic,
in
right.
2004, D'Angelo Hall from Deep Creek and then Tech, 8th overall to the Falcons. In 2007, Levi Brown, 5th overall to Arizona. He went to Granby High and then Penn State.
And we're talking first-round picks here. Rounding out the first-round picks from the 757 in 08, Kickatan's grad Gerard Mayo, picked 10th overall by the Patriots, played his college days at Tennessee. The following year, Percy Harvin, Lansdowne High School in Virginia Beach, went to Florida, picked 22nd overall by the Vikings. He is a stud. Go look at his high school and college tapes. It was insane. And the last first-round pick from Hampton Roads, this was a wild card. Brian Parsons, our producer, asked me this in the offseason the other day. I was like, I couldn't remember. 2013, E.J. Manuel out of Bayside High School in Virginia Beach, went to Florida State. He was the 16th pick overall by the Buffalo Bills. I think he played 3 years in the league.
Yeah, loved by Bills fans too.
Yeah. He's a great on TV now for the ACC network. All right, that's an NFL draft special in the books. We hope you enjoyed it. I'm Craig Loper. He is James Catato. Share it with your friends and family. We'll see you next time.